It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Welcome to the first episode of Who Do You Think You Are? I Am. I'm your host, Puma, alongside me, my co-host, Cenz.
What's up?
So let's dive right into it.
Right.
Last week,
Let's do it.
we got our Super Bowl participants.
We sure did.
Your LA Rams.
That's right.
And the, once again, New England Patriots for the 10th time in 15 years.
This is exciting stuff. It's exciting.
So let's talk about the first game. So Rams-Saints. Saints go up early. They go up 13-0 early.
I was shitting. From the last episode we did, we talked about how I wanted the Saints. Mm-hmm. How I wanted to get revenge on the Saints for them beating the Rams earlier in the season.
Well, it was an unreleased episode. So that's something that if you do subscribe to and do become part of our family,
out of the bag.
You will get pieces of that episode. That episode is unlisted, so it's not open to the public just yet. But I was in Atlantic City. I was watching the game at Bally's Casino. It was kind of nice being in New Jersey because I had money on the game. I had the over, which was 57, and I had the Rams. I was getting the 3 points. So I was just hoping the game was going to end within 3 points, and so I can come and collect my winnings. But it didn't look good early. The Rams came out high flying. The Saints came out high flying, and came out to an early lead. There was an early turnover, and before you knew it was 13-0, and after the first quarter. So after that first quarter, you don't know what to expect. The Rams can't stop. The Rams can't stop the Saints offensively
they got out to that early lead, but they weren't running all over them, throwing all over them.
I mean, they held them to field goals, which was good.
Yeah, exactly. But the fact of the matter was they were scoring and they got 13-0, and I was like, oh shit, here we go. They're not going to be able to slow them down. They're going to just keep Drew Brees is going to keep doing his thing, but man, defense stepped up big time. Huge.
Holding them to field goals, because that game could have easily have been 21-0. The Rams couldn't get anything going offensively. They
put the fucking the human bowling ball, C.J. Anderson in.
Yeah.
And that he turned shit around. I don't know. When I was watching the game and Gurley was dropping passes.
Dropped two of them that were big.
So the first one was that one went right through his hands, ended up being a pick, set them up for another score.
That was the first turnover.
Right. That was like on their first possession.
Yeah.
And then on a screen pass, this is something, even if you catch it, whatever, you get 1-2 yards. It's better than nothing. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's better than a drop, because I feel like the drop really mentally affects him, And he dropped that fucking pass. It was right to him. He drops it. He wasn't rushing really well. I hope that he's going to be okay for the Super Bowl. All the interviews that he's done so far,
he's handled everything like a pro.
He's handled everything really well, and he's understanding that he sucked. He's taking the blame.
Well, look at his stat line. He only had 4 rushing attempts for 10 yards.
Exactly.
He did have a touchdown though.
Yeah, but that was from I think it was a 4-yard rush.
It was close to the goal line.
But okay, so half his rushing yards came on his touchdown run that was right there. Mm-hmm. Other than that, he didn't do shit.
He had 3 targets for 1 reception and 3 yards.
So those 2 drops is
those
what I was
2
talking
drops.
about.
Yeah, exactly. And then C.J. Anderson really, both teams really had trouble rushing the ball. And in that unlisted episode, I talked about how I think the team that was going to have the most success was the team that could run the ball. And the Rams had success against the Cowboys in the divisional round because they were able to run the ball.
Both guys had big games.
Yes. And C.J. Anderson went 16 for 44. and his longest yard run was 8 yards.
Yeah,
So
but that's still not great numbers still, but better than Gurley.
well, better than Gurley.
And he just kept the chains moving forward.
And he was the lead rusher in the game. You know, if you look at the Saints.
Well, yeah, so the defense.
Yeah, the defense has really shut down the rush.
They stepped up.
Mark Ingram had 9 rushes for 31 yards. His longest run was half of those yards. It was 16. And Kamara only had 8 attempts. So there was only 7 between both teams. There were maybe 20 rushing attempts. Looking at it here, Robert Woods had 2. Gurley had 2. The fullback had a rush. Goff had 3. And then if you look here at the Saints, 3. Breeze had 2. Hill had 1. Ingram and Kamara had 17 combined. And then 18. So, it was a very pass-heavy game. Breeze went 26 for 40 for 249, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Goff went 25 for 40 for 297 with a touchdown and a pick as well.
But pretty good. I mean, completion percentage is 62.5%.
Yeah, he had a quarterback rating of 83.
But that, I think it was in the third quarter when the Rams started to really gain momentum.
Well, at halftime, it was 13-10. The Rams didn't score in the first quarter, and then they put up a 10 spot in the second quarter, and they held the Saints to 13. So going into the locker room, it's 13-10. It's a game.
Yeah.
It's a game. And, my over, which I thought when they played a couple of weeks ago when the Saints beat the Rams, it was a high-scoring game. Both teams put up 30-plus points. But then in the third quarter, they traded touchdowns. It was 7-7. And then now we get to the fourth quarter, and the Rams are still down, and they get a break. Well, before we get into the botchery of the non-flag and the pass interference call,
okay,
because I have a really big issue with how the NFL handled that. They did miss 2 face masks on Goff.
Yes.
So if you really want to talk about things evening out, even though it was the PI should have been a PI, it evened out because maybe they're not in that situation if they get those face mask calls, and maybe they score a touchdown instead of kicking a field goal. But the turning point and the biggest point of the game was that non-flag, was the fact that they didn't throw the flag, and they should have thrown the flag. And everybody in the casino, we were watching the game, by the sports book. It was awesome. Me and my girlfriend went up together, and she was actually into the game, which I was surprised. And then she got antsy, and she didn't want to watch the second game, but I kind of forced her.
It was a 6-yard rush, by the way, by Gurley.
Yes.
That was close.
Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, but it is what it is. But let's go to this. Let's go to the big part of the game. The Rams have the ball on the 15-yard line. Third down. Pass by Breeze, and the cornerback completely is face guarding the receiver, doesn't turn his head, and just annihilates the receiver, and there's no flag.
Yeah.
You got Sean Payton going berserk.
Yep.
I personally think, even though my heart was with the Rams because of my situation, it should have been a flag. The flag should have been thrown.
Yeah.
Even though they missed the face mask calls.
I agree.
It should have been a call.
I agree.
It should have been.
I'm a Rams fan, you know this. But I agree, 100%. I was watching the game. I could not believe that they let that shit slide. I was nervous because I saw it happen. I'm like, here we go. What a stupid penalty to give up at this time. And they didn't call it. I could not believe it. I don't know. People are saying pass interference won, helmet to helmet, or led with the helmet.
He did lead with the crown of his helmet.
Right. So that's another call that they should have called there. They're saying, besides the pass interference, that call alone, it was really bad. And the NFL's covering it up by fining the guy $26K.
So yeah, that's what I wanted to get into.
So
I mean, then
that's bullshit.
But you know what? Even over the course of the season, the NFL has come out and said, "Oh, we missed this call. Oh, we missed that call." You know what? umpire where I umpire games, and when I was trained, one of the things the guy who trained us said, never admit you missed the call, because then it shows weakness. It shows the fact that you can't get it right in big situations. And now, outside of the fine, the NFL is coming up and saying, well, you know what? We might make these plays reviewable.
Right.
And you know what? You can't make those plays reviewable because they're judgment calls. Just because you don't get a flag doesn't mean you can throw the challenge flag and be like, oh, yeah, by the way, it is a penalty. Here's your 15 yards or the spot of the ball, wherever it happens. That's going to ruin the game. And now you're going to slow down the game even further. You're going to slow it down, right? You're going to slow the game down even further. You're going to, in fact, you're going to take away the integrity of the game. You know, every sport has a ref or an umpire or something. Human error is part of sports. Exactly. Missing a call, making up for a call. You know, an umpire strikes someone, he misses a strike. You know, they miss a call at first base. Whatever. Now in the MLB, you can review calls at first base, and that slows the game down too. You know what? There are certain plays in MLB history that would be taken away because of a review. You know, like in that World Series with the Cardinals and the Royals in the 80s. You know, when that umpire blew the call at first base, he was blatantly out. But that changed the complexion of the series. And I think that it's just asinine to sit here and say, oh, well, you know what? We understand we got it wrong. We're going to admit we got it wrong. And then we're going to change the rules. You can't do that. I don't think that's right. You know, you missed the call. Fine. You missed the call. And did it affect the outcome of the game? Not really. Only because both teams possessed the ball in overtime. The Rams won the toss. The Saints won the toss. They couldn't get it. They punted away. Or they threw that pick, actually. Mm-hmm. They threw a pick. The Rams went down, kicked the field goal, game over.
Yeah, I mean...
Which was a bomb, by the way. Like a 57-yard field goal.
Oh, he's Greg the Leg.
Yeah.
He's the man.
Yeah.
But, no, I agree. You can't make those kind of calls reviewable. I don't know. I can't reference an exact call from the past, but I'm willing to bet that that's not the first time a call like that has been missed. Or maybe not the exact pass interference situation, but a bad call has always been missed. It's part of the game. You have to accept it. Saints fans are upset, and that's fine. Like, I completely agree.
You'd be pissed, too, if the shoe was
Again, Rams fan here saying that agree was a missed call, but you cannot do anything about it now. And to even think about going back, I mean, what do you want to happen? Like, people are complaining about the fine. Yeah, okay, it's a shitty little slap on the wrist. Like, okay, yeah, here you go. We missed a call. Here's a fine.
You're still going to the Super Bowl.
You're still going to the Super Bowl. What are we going to do? Like, what do these people want? Do they want to replay the game from that point on? Like, what the fuck do you really expect to happen at this point? It sucks. It sucks. But you know what? I'm fucking sick and tired of hearing about it. It happened literally last week. Just stop bitching, all right? You never know. It might happen next year. You might have another chance. You might be on the other side of it now. You know, who knows?
Exactly. You know, who knows?
But you cannot eliminate that. You have to have the referees just ref the fucking game. Enough with the reviewing. We really do too much reviewing, challenging. Can't do that kind of call. A catch, a spot, fine. And the catch, they still don't even fucking know what's a catch.
Exactly. He's got to make a football move.
Oh my God! What the fuck? All these fucking rules. Did he catch the ball? Yes or no? No, he didn't catch it. Great. Let's redo it.
Let's move on.
Oh, he had one hand on the ball, the other hand was on his balls, and one foot was up the other guy's ass. Like, what the fuck, man? Did he catch the ball? Was he standing in the grass, or was he behind the fucking white line? I mean, that's it. You have lines, right?
Use them.
Use the fucking lines. That's it. Enough with I'm sick of this shit. Too many fucking rules.
You know, there's so many. You can go back to so many calls. That Des Bryant call a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah.
The call with Calvin Johnson a couple of years before that. You know, there are so many instances where
gone too soon.
You know, yeah, exactly. But you know what? It's. They say they has to make a football move, but on the sideline, it's if he gets 2 feet down and possesses the ball through the ground, it's a catch. So.
He's bobbling the ball on the way down. He didn't have full possession of the ball as he was going down. The game is moving so fast. Grown men are banging into each other. Can you allow for just a little bit of movement of the football when it's in your hands? Come on, man.
But in retrospect, after everything settled, after everything, the Rams came through. They came back. It was a great game.
It was a great game.
It was a great game. Both games were good.
Yeah. Well, all right. So I didn't see the second game because I was going to our boy. You like him, I think, Maniscalco.
Oh yeah. Sebastian.
I was going to him at the Garden. Great show. He always puts on a good time. But they were playing the game throughout MSG. Our seats were behind like those
screens.
No. Like where the media guys usually sit.
Yeah.
Those little booths that kind of hang over and had the monitors there. We were sitting right behind there, and I was watching the game from like a distance. But I didn't see most of it. I also missed the big controversy with this.
Yes, definitely. So now we have our NFC representative. It's the
Rams.
There was actually a video that came out.
Oh wait, sorry, I gotta time this out. Side note: one of my students, he's a kindergartner. He's 5 years old. He's a Rams fan. He's a fucking Rams fan.
How the hell did that happen?
No, this kid. Let me tell you, this kid is gonna be a fucking beast in sports. His coordination for his level is unheard of. So every time he sees me, no matter where I am, he sees me, he just goes like this. Let's go Rams. Let's go. He starts pumping his fists. He starts going into his whole like passionate fan mode. He's an animal. He's 5 years old.
But
just had to get that out of the way. Love the kid.
So with that being said, like we talked about, 26-23 final. I walked away with a nice chunk of change. I got the under wrong, but I got the game right. So, I picked the over. It came in and under. It was kind of a low. Even though they both scored over almost over 25 points. It was still a lower scoring game than I think everybody anticipated. But now
compared to the first time they played,
I think the better game of the two was the later game, which was the AFC Championship against the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes against Tom Brady's New England Patriots. And that game kind of started the same way. One team came out firing. It was 14-0 at the halftime. The Chiefs couldn't get anything started. They did hunker down defensively, but the offense couldn't get anything started. Mahomes struggled, but they went into the locker room, came out, and it was a totally different Chiefs team, and it came out. It was such a great game, especially that fourth quarter. We could skip everything that happened in the first three quarters, and because the score was 17-7 going into the fourth quarter. And again, I had the Chiefs giving 3, and I had the over. So, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this game's not going over. Again, I picked the wrong thing again, but and it looked like I was going to lose the game outright. But that fourth quarter was one of the best quarters of football I've ever watched. Between both teams, the Chiefs put up 24 points and the Patriots put up 14. So, you ended up with a 31-31 final at the end. But now here you go again with the talking about rules and fair and what's not fair in overtime, where they changed the rules already for overtime, where it used to just be sudden death, whoever scored first. Now both teams have a chance to possess the ball unless the first team scores a touchdown or a defensive touchdown is scored. So the Patriots go down.
I like that rule better, though.
I like the rule better too, but at the same time, both teams aren't guaranteed possession of the ball. And who knows, if they are, the Chiefs might go down and answer that touchdown, and they still might be playing. You never know. But I think that when it's all said and done, the game was great. It was even. If you look at the numbers, Brady was 30 for 46 for 350, but he only had one touchdown. He did throw 2 interceptions, which is very un-Brady-like in a playoff game.
They had 4 rushing TDs.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
And from who?
Everybody. James White ran all over everybody.
No, I'm just saying.
Not White.
I'm saying Rex Burkhead.
Sonny Michael.
Rex Burkhead had 2.
Sonny Michael had 2.
And 2 for him. fucking no names.
29. Michael was 29, 113 and 2.
Yeah.
And his longest run was 11 yards. But if you noticed, you didn't watch the game, I did. What I noticed is every first down, they were running the ball. The Patriots were running the ball, running the ball, and the Chiefs didn't have an answer for them. And if you look on the opposite side, on the Chiefs' offense, they had no running game. Damian Williams went 10 for 30. He did have a touchdown.
41 rushing yards for the Chiefs compared to 176 for the Pats. And Pats had 36 first downs compared to the Chiefs' 18.
And they still put up 31 points. That just shows you how explosive that offense is. And
how
good Mahomes is.
It just shows how big the passing plays are for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
They cover more ground per play than the Patriots. The Patriots march down, they rack up first downs, and they finish it off. The Chiefs bomb it down, and they convert. But, I think there's something to be said about the Patriots' methodical play. Looking at
their time of possession.
the time of possession, exactly.
So
everything is doubled. I mean, first downs, 36-18, that's double. Time of possession, almost 44 minutes for the Pats, and 21 minutes for the Chiefs. That's fucking huge. And fourth down conversions. I mean, that's a little thing, but something to be said. 1 for 2 for the Pats, and Chiefs didn't take one, but converting a fourth down is a killer.
It is. And if you even look at their third down conversions, they were 13 for 19.
It's fucking awesome.
That means that the Kansas City defense had 19 times to get off the field, and they only got off the field 6 times.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I just said the game was even, but I'm only saying the game was even because if you look at the numbers, you would think that the Patriots would just ran the Chiefs out the building. But it wasn't the case. I mean, they had 524 total yards compared to the Chiefs' 290. Rushing yards was 176 to 41. I mean, it looks like a blowout. But you know what? It was a great game. You know what? Sometimes you can't look at the numbers. As much of the story as the numbers give you, you really got to watch the game and really see what's going on within the game itself. And in that final quarter, we're talking about rules and challenges and stuff. There were 3 or 4 different challenges in the fourth quarter. There was a catch by Hogan that was reviewed, that was upheld. That was a third down too. That could have got them off the field. There was another review there was a punt that Edelman came up and it looked like he didn't touch it, but it looked like he touched it. It wasn't conclusive. And it was ruled a fumble. And they overturned it and gave the Patriots the ball. But if you watch the replay, it's really hard to tell. I mean, I personally thought it was a fumble. I saw the ball move. But
this is the one it hit off the ground. It kind of skipped like a short hop almost.
Edelman came up and was waving his hands like, I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to let it go. And then he tried to fake them out and go field the ball. And he came up and hopped. And it skidded, but it skidded over him to a point where it looked like his thumb or part of his arm kicked the ball out. The same situation happened to the Giants. The second time they went to the Super Bowl, there was a muff punt in overtime, and they were able to take advantage of it. In my opinion, you can't turn the ball over. And the Patriots turned the ball over twice, and they still won the game. Usually, if you win the turnover battle, you win the game. But that wasn't the case.
I would like to see the breakdown of time by half since the Chiefs basically outscored the Patriots in the second half. They still only finished with 21 minutes of possession time.
Yeah, they didn't really possess the ball, and it was a lot of 3 and outs in the first half for the Chiefs.
That's what I'm saying, and that's incredible. That I would love to know what their time was in the first half, how small it was.
Well, you know what? Football is a game. Like a lot of sports are inches. 1 inch this way, 1 inch that way. It's a different outcome, and it's interesting because the NFL is kind of giving into the Saints because of the PI, but they're not talking about the muffed punt. They're not talking about the catch that wasn't a catch. They're kind of letting that be, but that's why it doesn't make sense. You can't talk about one and then not talk about the other. You got to talk about both. And, you know, I personally think both teams deserve not to lose, but you need to have a winner, you need to have a loser. And, of course, the Patriots came up and, you know, this is the other thing. The Patriots took the lead late in the game, and Mahomes drove them down with 30 seconds to go to kick a field goal that sent it into overtime.
Right.
So, if you're talking strategy and time management, the Chiefs kind of shot themselves in the foot because they gave Brady too much time. They scored too early. And, you know, everybody talks about scoring late and time management and stuff like that. Take the air out of the ball, run the clock down.
Deflategate?
Well, no pun intended. Slow the game down, and, you know, don't give Brady that extra possession in the fourth quarter. Then, so the point where they can either take the lead, tie the game, to send it in overtime. Because Brady's track record, you knew once that game was over in overtime and they won the toss, the game was over. It was only a matter of time. But, you know, with that being said, we have our NFC and AFC representatives. Patriots, Rams. It's a rematch of the 1999 no, 2001.
Yes.
The 2001 Super Bowl when the Rams were not the LA Rams, they were the St. Louis Rams.
Yep.
And, you know, Kurt Warner was their quarterback, Marshall Faulk, and Adam Vinatieri kicked the field goal to win the game as time expired, who is coming back for another season, by the way.
I saw that.
Old man Vinatieri, in his 40s, still kicking field goals.
Yeah, so the biggest thing for me, I'm very excited. I would love to have seen Chiefs Rams because when they played on Monday night earlier in the year, it was fucking insane.
They put up like 90-something points combined.
I think it was over 100.
Was it over 100?
Yeah, check that shit. So I'm excited because, like you said, it's a rematch. And when I first started becoming a Rams fan, I was a youngin.
54-51 the final of that game was.
So I believe I started following the Rams when I was in third grade. 1999, they were in the Super Bowl, and you know, little kid, you want like the good team to win. You get behind them. You know, my family's not big on football, so I didn't have like that kind of affiliation already, like you do with the Giants. So I kind of just, you know what, I'm gonna pick the Rams. Stuck with them through thick and thin, and really bad fucking years.
And
when that Super Bowl happened against the Patriots, that was Tom Brady's, you know, debut, right? And he took everyone by surprise. I was pissed. And ever since that day, I hated Tom Brady. But Tom Brady, obviously, I have to respect him, and I respect Belichick and the whole system.
You have to.
It works. It's proven. Gotta respect it. But I'm fucking excited because now the tide has turned. Back then, it was Warner and Falk who were established, right? And Brady was the young guy. Now, years later, Brady's still around, but he's the old guy. And now you have Goff, Gurley, the young Rams coming to town. It was the greatest show on turf. And now they call the Rams the greatest show on surf. I love it. So rematch, and I hope it's a fucking win for the Rams, man. I would love to see them beat Brady.
I hope so too. I mean, it was kind of a calling card for all Giant fans that he couldn't beat the Giants in the Super Bowl, and he beat everybody else. And with Philly beating them last year, you know, it's in the NFC in the NFC East, but you know, you can't beat the NFC East. So, you know, let's add in. I wouldn't mind him adding another team. So, looking at what Vegas is coming out with, right now the Patriots
2.5, right?
They're favored. The Patriots are favored by 2.5. So they're predicting a close game.
As they should. I mean, what the fuck? Yeah, arguably the best team in the NFC, going against, you know, one of the best in the AFC record-wise. But
you know, I think the key of this game is Gurley, and is, like I said, I'm going to go back to it again, is the running game. You know, even though Goff and Brady can sling the ball over the place and they can throw the ball and make throws, but I think it's going to be the running game. And who could get off the field faster on third downs? Yeah. I think who could get off the field faster and stop the offense to get the ball back and do something with field position. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be I'm going to make 31-28.
You're making a prediction?
31-28. 31-28 Rams.
Wow. All right.
I think it's deja vu
Yeah.
in the sense I think the Rams kick a game-winning field goal as time expires. So I think it's deja vu, but I think Brady gets what's coming to him. I think it's a little bit of karma. You beat us, in 2001 on a field goal.
Passing of
We're
the
going
torch.
to beat you on a field goal. But we'll see what happens. We got a week. And I know we're going to be recording that day
Oh yeah.
right before, so we'll go more in depth.
Should we get
into the
wings?
Super Bowl at 9:00 in the morning?
Why not?
It's up to you.
So
Maybe have a beer.
yeah, my key for the game. I have to agree with the running game. It's evident that the Patriots succeeded with an awesome running game last game, and the Rams, despite Todd Gurley's shitty play, let's just call it what it is, they still ended up winning.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the key for the Rams, they have to keep that defense on lockdown. The Chiefs only hit Brady one time last game, in that game. Whereas Mahomes got sacked 4 times and hit 9 times. The Patriots, we talked about this before, third down conversions. Okay, It's pretty close. Patriots converted 40.8% of their third downs this year. And the Rams are slightly better at 45%. And like you said, who's going to get off the field when it comes to third down? That's the game changer. Who's going to control the game, the pace of the game, the running game, and who's going to get off the field, whose defense is going to get off the field quickest.
And who's going to take that risk on fourth down? Is McVay going to take that risk? Is Belichick going to take that risk?
Well, I think the Rams would do it. He's been known to go for fourth down more often than most people would like to see that. I like him as a coach. Besides him being successful and winning, I like his approach. I like his
He's aggressive.
His moxie,
He's aggressive.
Yeah, he's aggressive.
And he needs to be.
Yeah.
You can't be passive in
But you got these young studs. You gotta let them go, man.
Exactly. So now that I think we've talked at length about the running game and we talked at length about getting off the field, but it also will come down to if the Rams score late, how much time they give Brady to answer. I think that time management on the Rams side is going to be important because you don't want to give Brady the last possession.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're up 1 or 2, you don't want to give him that last chance, even if it's a minute and a half. If he has a minute and a half and even one timeout, he can make something happen.
Yeah.
And I think if it's more of the fact if the Rams can manage their clock and manage the game clock and control the pace and the time, they'll have a better shot.
That's what we were saying. The running game is an easy way to do that.
Yes, it is.
Get Gurley going. And McVay in his one of the post game press conferences, I don't know if it was right after or a day or two afterwards, he was talking about how he took blame for not getting Gurley the ball more. So I like that accountability that he's taking, and that shows a leader. And I think that's why the players really like him. He's an easy guy to get behind. But
exactly.
if he can get Gurley, I mean, I love Anderson, the addition of him, and having that 2-headed monster in the backfield. You can easily control the pace there.
Yeah,
you can really take a lot of pressure off Goff and keep Brady off the field as much as possible.
Yeah,
that's the key.
I agree. So now let's transition a little bit here. We've talked about football. We're going to talk more football next week.
Oh, yeah.
Let's wait for some reports to come out. Maybe something will come out about Gurley. Maybe something will come out about.
Well, as of now, they're saying he's healthy.
Day.
Media
Day is going to come out because that's when a lot of fun stuff happens with Media Day. So one of the other sports that is kind of headed towards a labor stoppage or a player strike or a lockout is Major League Baseball. And when we recorded 2 weeks ago, we thought by the time we sat down again, Harper and Machado would be signed or close to signing. And 2 weeks later, we're in the same spot. Why?
I feel like we're like further than ever.
Yeah.
We're further than last time.
You know, there are new
This is
reports
like no
now.
speculation.
Nothing. And, you know, I think that the CBA that was signed in 2017, that's set to expire in 2021.
Yep.
I think at 2021, you're going to see a strike. You're going to see something labor related, because the system for the players is flawed. The system for the players is they get to free agency too late in their career, and every team finds a problem with them. And whether it's their age or their production is going down because they're getting older, it doesn't give the player a opportunity to sell their best stuff because their best years might be behind them. You know, Aaron Judge is not going to be a free agent until his early 30s. You really think he's going to get a contract he really deserves? No. He's going to be making the minimum. He's going to hit arbitration, and he'll get his millions, but he's not going to get that 10-year, $300 million contract because he'll be in his 40s at the end of the 10-year deal.
Right.
And I think that what's going to happen is the players are going to come in and they're going to say, listen, we need a better system so we can get to free agency earlier so we can make our money. You know, they always talk about how many contracts you get as a professional. And in baseball, you're only going to get one. Maybe two if you're lucky. So right now, the way it's constituted is the team has control of you for 6 years once you start your clock. So when you get called up to the majors, your clock starts and you get 6 years. And if these players are getting called up at 24, 25, you know, their sixth year, the last year, they're 30, they're 31, they're 32, you know, and then you have some of these players who come up later in their career, they blossom later at 27 or 28, and they're not going to hit free agency till they're early to mid 30s. So, you know, that's where it's flawed. And if you really look at it, you are the owners are playing the system where it happened to Chris Bryant, it happened to Gleyber Torres in recent memory. They sit and they wait and they wait. Chris Bryant should have been on the opening day roster his rookie year, but they held him for 2 weeks. They held him for 2 weeks so that they can get that extra year of control. Yeah. So technically now it's 7 years. It's not 6. And they did the same thing with Torres. With the Yankees, did the same thing with Torres last year.
Yep.
They waited, and then when they were able to gain that next year of control, they brought him up, even though he might have been ready to start on the opening day roster. So you're controlling these players in a sense that you're not giving them an opportunity to make money because you want that extra year of control. So I think what's going to happen is the players are going to come in and they're going to want to cut the years of control in half. So instead of it being 6 years, it'll be 3, which is fair. I think it's fair. You know, I think it's better for baseball if their young studs and their young players and stars are getting paid earlier in their career. And because you're talking about a sport that makes billions and billions of dollars. And when you have the Yankees and these big market teams, you know, Boston has got the highest payroll, which is weird because in the years past, they were the team that didn't have the highest payroll. They had a bunch of workman type guys that, you know, were like a Doug Minkiewicz or a Kevin Millar type guy, you know, these idiot type players that everybody comes and learns to love. But there needs to be a change or there's going to be a strike. And you might not have a season in 2021 because of the fact that the system is flawed. And what you can do is in other sports, like I think in hockey they do this, they have restricted free agency where they can talk to other teams and get an offer sheet. And they have to bring the offer sheet back to their team and say, this is what I was offered. You can either let me walk or you can match the deal. And if they match the deal, they sign with the team. So they don't have the freedom to go and be unrestricted and sign with whoever they want. they have to check back with the team that has their rights. So I think that's something they could talk about and maybe work into. But, I really don't like the future because of the fact that you have two players that are 26 years old that are the young that are with Trout are the faces of this sport.
Absolutely.
And they're not. There's no movement. There's nothing. I remember when A-Rod was a free agent when he signed with Texas. There were teams. The Texas Rangers signed him for 10 years and $275. No, actually I'm wrong. It was 10 years and $250. The second contract was $275. So 10 years, $250. The Texas Rangers signed that deal because there was no luxury tax. There was no nothing. I understand competitive balance. These teams in the Midwest are smaller budgeted. They don't have the same budget as a team on the coast with the Yankees and the Dodgers. The Miami Marlins payroll is going to be like $30 million. Like, I understand that, and it's revenue sharing, and you want to keep everybody happy. But at the same time, if it's hurting your brand, it's hurting your players, and it's hurting your sport, you got to make a change. You know what? The change the revenue sharing, change the luxury tax, so these teams, these money teams that can spend the money. If you go to a Yankee game and they're good, you're spending almost $500 to sit on field level. Why am I going to spend $500 when my team is not going to go out and spend the money because they're worried about a friggin' luxury tax? It's bullshit. It's bullshit. I don't know. Do you agree, or you're just letting me go on a rant here? And it's
you're passionate about it.
Well, you know what? I don't understand it. They're 26 years old.
I know.
It's not like they're 30.
I hear you.
And everybody's saying, oh, they're waiting for Trout. Everybody's waiting for Trout. Trout's going to be even older, and they're going to find a problem with him too. Oh, he's going to be too old. We can't give him a long-term contract because he'll be in his 40s. Or, his production is going to go down because he's going to get older. The back end of the contract's going to be worth it. But like what the Yankees did with A-Rod, that second contract that he signed, that 10-year deal. The last 3 years were empty. It was really a 7-year deal. But they got a World Series out of it. They got a World Series out of the CC contract. They got a World Series out of the Teixeira contract, out of the Burnett contract. Even though some of those contracts didn't work out, at the end, they worked out in the beginning. So do you want to pay for now and worry about the future later? Or do you want to be tight-stringed and cost yourself potentially a World Series because you didn't go sign the guy that you needed?
Yeah, I want to be successful as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. And when you sign a guy like Machado and Harper, you're not getting an old guy. These guys that the Yankees were signing, especially Burnett, that was a great reference. He was crucial to that World Series win, but he wasn't like a fucking young guy, and he certainly wasn't a dominant player.
And they ended up trading him.
He wasn't even close to the level of skill and how like Machado and Harper are now. These guys should be on teams without a question. What I want to know is it the team? Why can't the team just offer a smaller year contract, like less years? Can they?
They can.
Have they? And is it Machado and Harper saying, no, we want bigger contracts?
Well, the thing is in baseball, the contracts are guaranteed. So if you sign that 10-year contract, you're guaranteed for 10 years.
Right.
So why would you want to sign?
No, I get it. Why would you want to sign
a 5-year deal?
4 years less money, but you're guaranteed 4 years as opposed to a 10-year contract? I hear you. Mm-hmm. So, but now whose fault is that now?
It's kind of on the. I think the blame can be spread out between both parties.
I understand. The player wants to look out for themselves, right? They want to protect. They want to have their own back, right? Mm-hmm. But you got to be a little bit flexible, I think. I'm not saying 4 years. That was a big exaggeration.
Well, I think, like I said, and I say it again, 8 years, $275 would get a Machado. I think it would get.
I think the Yankees can still do it.
I think so too.
And I think I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
We have two figures for these players. Machado right now, the offer was, I think, was $175 from the White Sox. If it's $175, see why Troy Tulowitzki and DJ LeMahieu is stopping you from signing Manny Machado. If you could get him for 8 years and $215,
dude, 8 years, he's gonna be 34 by the end of it.
Yeah,
perfect.
Even if he signed a 10-year deal, he's gonna be 36. Baseball is kind of a sport where you get better with age.
No.
Yes.
No.
I think so.
I disagree.
I think
big
so.
time.
I think so because the reason why I say that is I'm not talking about into your late 30s.
Dude, 36.
That's
old.
But I still think Jeter played shortstop till he was 40.
Yeah.
And
was he the same Jeter?
He wasn't the same Jeter at the last 2 years of
now,
his
what
career.
was the most what part of his game was most affected by age?
His defense.
Okay.
But
now you're not paying for a fucking. Manny Machado is not just a DH.
Well,
you're not just paying for his bat.
At the end of the
okay,
year,
yeah, then you can structure the contract in that way, sure. But the big debate with this is like, Machado and Andujar, like Andujar can be just as good of a hitter as Manny Machado when he gets to his age, right? That's the thing that they're saying. Because Andujar was a great hitter last year, but the fielding's so bad for Andujar, right? And you, baseball guy, pointed out that, you hear people talking about it's his arm strength, and you're like, no, he's got a fucking cannon. It's his footwork.
Don't get me started on
right?
that.
We won't even go there.
The uneducated sports fan.
We won't go there. We won't go there.
I'm going there.
Fuck.
I'm going there. The uneducated Yankee fan is saying, "Oh, go get Machado," and it's because Andujar's defense.
For the record, this was not me.
No, this was not you, but because I've taught you better than that. But the point is that you can't look at Andujar and say it's his arm, and it's this and it's that. He's got a major league bat. He's got a cannon. He's got a hose.
He does.
For an arm.
Yeah.
It's his footwork. Okay? If you know anything about baseball, there's two parts to every play. You got to field the ball and you got to make the throw. Okay? If your footwork is off, the throw might not be on target. But that's not because of arm strength. That's because of technique. Okay? When I coach my kids, I teach them field the ball from the ground up, stay low, stay underneath. Okay? That's what you really need to look at. That's what is important when you're talking about fielding and glove work. You can't say, "Oh, it's his arm strength." It's not. It's his footwork. And the Yankees even came out and said it's his footwork. Okay? Boone went down to the Dominican Republic and watched them and said, who is a third baseman, by the way, who played third base. So he knows what he's talking about. Said his footwork looks better.
Who said this?
Aaron Boone. His footwork looks better. They're not worried about his arm. So if you don't know what you're talking about, shut up.
So now they were saying, I think you said it earlier today when we were just bullshitting, that they say that Andujar has the work ethic.
He has the work ethic. He's working hard.
Wade Boggs.
Yeah.
That he can improve pretty quickly.
Yeah, and Wade Boggs wasn't a good defensive third baseman either. He got better as he developed.
So I like to hear that.
And not for nothing.
I want to see what he's going to do this year. I want Machado. Don't get me wrong.
But you can have Machado and Andujar.
Of course.
You don't need to get rid of him.
Of course, which is what I was going to get to next is Machado comes in. You want to keep Andujar, let him develop. Now it comes to Didi.
Well, you know what? I think that you're going to have to make a choice eventually. And this is the thing. I don't want to trade Andujar for a 30-year-old pitcher in Kluber.
No, exactly.
I don't want to trade Andujar for a 30-year-old Bumgarner. If I'm going to trade Andujar, I'm trading him for a pitcher that is controlled. I'm trading him for a young pitcher. And it would never happen, but like a Blake Snell or like a Michael Fulmer or somebody like that. I'm not trading him
Snell
for
in a
Kluber.
Yankees uniform just for some reason seems so right.
But I'm not trading him for the pitchers that are out there now. I'm not trading him
I
for
agree.
Kluber.
I
Kluber's 32 years old. Okay? I'm not trading a 22-year-old controlled player. Now we're talking about years of control for a pitcher that's going to be a free agent. Not happening.
But you agree that the Yankees, their moves so far, you like the moves so far? The pitching. Let's start with the pitching moves.
I like Paxton.
Yep.
I like that they brought back Hap.
Yep.
That was a T-friendly contract. That bullpen
Yeah.
is nasty. is going to be nasty. I think it's better than last year. I think Ottavino is better because everybody's saying Ottavino just replaced Robertson. I think Ottavino is better than Robertson.
Yeah.
And
oh, he's nasty.
Just going before we start talking about the bullpen because I want to get into the Ottavino signing.
Okay, go.
One of the things that doesn't make sense either with this whole Harper Machado thing is that the Dodgers unloaded a bunch of outfielders.
Yeah.
They unloaded Puig, they unloaded Kemp, they unloaded the contracts, they traded them to the Reds. Goodbye, see you later. And everybody thought, oh, that's a lock for the Dodgers to go sign.
Reds making moves, by the way.
Yeah, and they traded for Sonny Gray. They took our garbage.
Dude, watch Sonny Gray
it'll happen.
Go to work in the fucking Reds.
So instead of the Dodgers going out and signing Harper right away, they go and sign A.J. Pollock for 4 years. Now, A.J. Pollock is a great player, good player, has problems with staying healthy, but he signed a 4-year deal for $55 million with a player opt-out after the third and a player option for the fifth. So he's 30, and he's 31 years old. So this can be a contract that runs to his 36-year-old season. So you go sign him instead of saying, okay, we have the position on Harper, let's go get him and let's go push it. And they didn't do that. So it doesn't make sense. They went with the cheaper option because what's 4 years, $55 million turn out to?
I mean,
50. What's 50 times
like
4?
13 million.
So it's 13 million with, and then if it is right now it's a 3-year deal guaranteed. So it's 3 years. So 3 years at 13 million. So if it's 55 million after 4, and then it could be a 5-year deal, 5-year deal, which might bring it to 70 million. Oh no, yeah, 70 million. Let's just say. So if you're gonna pay a 31-year-old that much money when you can go, it's 16.5 million a year.
Wow, I was way off.
So if it's a 3-year deal, let's say, no, hold on a second.
Now we're arguing over math over here.
Well, these deals.
This is what the baseball world has come to, right, Puma?
Fucking saber
crunching numbers.
Bullshit. So he has an opt-out after the 3rd year, so it's a guaranteed 3 years. So if you times that by 16.5, it's 49. It's a $50 million contract. So, which doesn't make sense either because it's a reported $55 million deal. So the way it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense how these contracts are now opted. Same thing with the Britton deal. It's like an opt-out after 2, but if the Yankees buy in, it's a 4-year deal. It just doesn't make sense because they're crunching numbers to save money. It's like the girl that you want to date, and it's like, okay, I will sign you to a 2-date contract, but if I opt in, it's a 4-date contract. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You know what? These teams are half in, half out. You can't be half pregnant. You can't say, well, you're old, so we'll give you a 4-year deal, but it can really be a 2-year deal. Like, these type of contracts are new. I
think that example was a lot better than your dating example.
Well, you try some examples on the fly, and if it works, it works. But that's not the point. The point is that these contracts, and this is why we're leading towards the labor stoppage. But, back to the Yankees and back to talking about, the hometown team here. We don't cover the other little brother, even though they did sign Justin Wilson, who couldn't throw a strike, but that's besides the point. Ottavino signing. Now you have Chapman, Betances, Britton, and Ottavino. 2 lefties, two power lefties, 2 power righties. Ottavino's slider is magnificent.
Nasty.
And, but that's not the story with Ottavino. And Ottavino is going to be the first Yankee player ever to wear 0, which is the last single-digit number with the Yankees. And he's the first one to ever wear it. He actually had to get approval from the Yankees before he decided to take that number. But now, I want to test your baseball knowledge here.
Oh, shit.
Can you name the single-digit numbers that are retired in order
In order?
In order.
Oh,
1 through 10. Floor's yours. Number 1. Who's number 1?
I'm going in order here.
I didn't stutter.
All right. 1, Billy Martin.
Billy Martin. 2,
Jeter.
Jeter.
3, Babe Ruth. 4, Gehrig. 5, DiMaggio.
6.
6.
Should I play the Jeopardy thinking song right now?
Don't. I feel like I'm trying to think what player.
Before my hair turns gray.
Not a player. Joe Torre.
There we go. Took you long enough.
Well, listen, I was thinking players.
Torre, number 7.
Mickey Mantle.
8.
Yogi.
And 8 was retired twice.
See, this is some bullshit.
Yogi was 8. That's right, but there was another 8. I don't think you're going to get this one. Want to phone a friend?
Guidry?
No, Guidry was 49.
Oh. All right, hold on. 8.
Another catcher.
Another catcher?
Mm-hmm. Before Yogi. He was a catcher before Yogi.
Oh, God. Oh, Whitey Ford?
No, he was 16. Chairman of the board.
Was he even a catcher?
No, he was not. He was a pitcher.
Yeah, that's right.
You guys see what I deal with here. All right, I'm going to help you out because you're digging your own hole here.
All right, go. No, don't finish it. I know the rest. Just tell me who.
Bill Dickey.
Oh, Bill Dickey. That's what I was thinking of. Bill Dickey. And where are we? 9? Roger Maris.
Marist. And 10?
And 10, Phil Rizzuto.
Phil Rizzuto. There you go.
Rizzuto.
Those are Z's. Rizzuto's not a word. He's a baseball player. Oh, Billy Madison. What a great movie that was.
You know,
I hate school and I hate all of
you
you.
know, Bianca has never seen Billy Madison.
Oh, we're name dropping now?
Yeah, why not?
Well, she's definitely deprived.
I'm like, I can't believe you haven't seen that movie.
Well, don't worry. Steph hasn't seen Star Wars, and I'm forcibly plugging away. Where she saw the original trilogy, she saw the first prequel, and she fell asleep during the second prequel. But I'm trying. I'm working. I told her she had to watch all 9 of them, or actually all 10 of them, before Episode 9 comes out in December. For the record, I am a Star Wars fan, so if you guys haven't put that connection together already. But yeah, Ottavino, first person to wear 0. Kind of happy that you knew most of them. You know, it's always tough. I can name all the retired numbers. I'm not going to do it right now. It'll take too long because there's so many of them. But I can name all the retired numbers. But you know what? It's an honor for him and to be the last one to wear a single-digit number. And you know what? Once he comes and goes, because they're not going to retire his number, for him at least, you'll see 0 again with the Yankees when somebody else comes up that wants to wear it. And hopefully it's a generational talent that can, end it. Before we know it, the Yankees are going to be wearing triple-digit numbers.
Make a legacy for himself.
Mm-hmm. So, now with baseball, I think that's pretty much everything that's going on here. There's really no other movement anywhere else. Other than the Sonny Gray trade.
Which I like.
Which I like too. They got a good prospect. Yep. They got the pick. They got the sandwich pick. I think that, it was the right thing to do for the player. He even came out and said that he wants, you want to play where you're wanted. So he didn't feel wanted with the Yankees. But it's important.
You didn't do anything. You didn't do anything, man. It's just not. You're not gonna get your hand held over here. You come over here. You gotta fucking show up every time. That's the pressure that comes with playing in for the Yankees. Forget about New York. Everyone says, "Oh, that's pressure that comes with playing in New York." The Knicks have no fucking pressure, all right? The fucking Jets don't put pressure on people.
And the Mets either.
The Mets, all right, maybe, but you play for the fucking Yankees. Like growing up, everybody that we knew, all our friends, you want to be a fucking Yankee, and we always say like, oh, if you can go back and beat any athlete and like live their life, who would you pick?
Derek Jeter.
Basketball people, football people, hockey people, whoever the fuck you are, everybody
In New York.
Everybody picked Derek Jeter.
Unless you're a hater.
Who the hell does not want to be the shortstop for the Yankees? On top of that, pretty good looking guy, and we know his track record of women he's had.
They came out with like the Jeter 9,
Holy
and they filled in
fuck.
every position.
But you see, he kept that shit under wraps. You didn't hear shit about it.
No.
That's the way. And now he's married to a Smoke who's like half his age. Dude, he won. He won life.
And he's still winning.
Dude, he's the man. He's the fucking man.
So now that we've talked about, now we're talking about Jeter and his dating
I want to
life.
say, what happened with Canely?
Tommy Canely? They don't know what's going on. He had an off year last year. His velocity was down. They said he was hurt. He said he wasn't hurt. He's a wild card too. If you can add him to the bullpen.
If we could have him from 2 years ago.
Well, yeah. I mean, we didn't even talk about Holder. We didn't talk about Chad Green. They have other people in the bullpen that will help. When Boone goes into a series, he can say, well, we used Britton and Green yesterday. We can now use Betances and Ottavino. Or you can use Holder and Ottavino. You can really mix and match what's going on. But, if you notice, the Yankees are on the pitching staff are lefty.
Yeah, left heavy.
Yeah, they're very left heavy. You don't know what you're going to get out of CC.
I mean, CC's a heavy lefty.
No pun intended. But, they have a lot of lefties. They have 2 power lefties in the bullpen. They have, a couple of the Paxton's left-handed. You have CC, who's left-handed. So you have 2 decent left-handed starters, even though you don't know what you're going to get out of Sabathia. But, and if you look at the lineup, we talked about this with the other unlisted episode on how they are 2 right-handed. If they were going to sign a utility guy, they should have signed a switch hitter instead of a DJ LeMahieu, who's another right-handed bat. They have no lefties other than Greg Bird and Brett Gardner. Hicks is a switch hitter.
Yep.
But the meat of their order is going to be heavy right-handed. And I think the Yankees are dying and begging for Greg Bird to beat out Luke Voit for the first baseman job in spring training.
I'm rooting for him, man. I'm pulling for the guy.
I'm just sick and tired of all the crap. Just, he's a good player. He's a good hitter. He's shown that he can hit in the MLB.
What are you sick and tired of?
Just the crap, the excuses for him. Oh, he was hurt. Oh, he was this. Oh, he was that. There's no more excuses now. He's got to show up and he has to do his job.
I mean, I don't think those are lame excuses. He was hurt.
He was hurt, but you know what though? There's a time where you have to draw the line in the sand, and this is that year for Greg Bird.
I hear what you're saying. I think he's got to be labeled as just a guy who
is very fragile.
Very fragile, can't really get fully healed the way that he needs to, and like you gotta hope and pray that he doesn't get hurt. Otherwise, you're done. You lost him.
And
by the way, we're watching the NFL All-Star Weekend thing, and there's dodgeball right now. There's 5 AFC dudes throwing at Saquon Barkley, and one of those guys is Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck's throwing a fucking dodgeball at you, and Saquon's dodging all of them. He's an animal. Oh, no, you guys got pegged.
Oh, no, he caught it! He caught it!
Oh, but they called him out because Luck nailed him in the foot. But before this was a dunk.
The 40-yard dash dunk.
Dunk tank. This is retarded.
This is cool that you're bringing this up because the next thing I wanted to talk about was something that happened this weekend, and it was the NHL All-Star Game. And how...
Wait, did we finish what we were talking about before?
No, who gives a shit?
Bottom line, Greg Bird needs to step his shit up. No more excuses. This is it for him. Didi's got to get healthy because he's another lefty. And Yankees should sign Bryce Harper. End of story.
I think so, too. If you can't give me the excuse that Cashman gave me about why they're not going after Harper. But back to your whole Pro Bowl thing here.
Yeah.
Nice little segue. Is the NHL had their skills competition and their All-Star game yesterday. And I think that they've finally have figured out the problem that all major sports have with their All-Star games and their All-Star festivities. The skill competition that the NHL put together, they have the fastest skater, they have a save streak, they have the hardest shot, they have the obstacle course, they had a team one where they did different things. That stuff is cool. It's interesting. They had the computer technology tracking the pucks and stuff like that. And then with the actual game itself, they turned an exhibition game into something people want to watch because it's 3-on-3.
Yeah.
It's division against division.
A lot of action.
It's a lot of action. It's a lot of scoring. It's fun. And, you look at the other sports, baseball tried to do it with having home field advantage be determined by the winner of the All-Star game.
I think that's cool, though.
But you know what, though? It's kind of unfair only
is.
Because the American League is so much stronger than the National League. The American League always wins.
But I think that
always
that
would win
kind of
the
All-Star
game.
slight advantage that the American League has in terms of their players, it adds to the competitiveness of the game. If the NL does end up winning, that's huge for them. So
yeah, I understand that, but then you look at other All-Star games like the NFL. The Pro Bowl is garbage. It's garbage.
It's always been shit.
Because you know what? Players are so worried about getting hurt.
I don't blame them.
And I don't blame them either. The game is not played at full speed, and now they're trying with this the facilities.
This is kind of cool.
They're playing dodgeball. Dodgeball has nothing to do with football.
I know, but it's cool to watch pros go against each other.
But if you compare it to hockey, their skill competitions are actually based on the skills they use in a game. Puck handling, passing. You got guys trying to hit a tiny little mini net from the opposite, cross width of the ice, trying to put a puck in a mini net. The precision that it takes, and it really shows the skill of those athletes in the NHL. Here, who cares if they could throw a dodgeball? Who cares?
I know, but
who cares if they could throw a football at a dunk tank?
I understand. No, that I completely agree with. That was stupid. They running with buckets of water and filling the tank up, and then they're throwing a target into
football.
It was almost like an activity that I would create for my fucking phys ed class.
Yeah.
Like run this way 20 times first, and then throw through a target to win. For 5-year-olds, okay. For grown men, it's like, come on, this is silly.
Yeah.
I think the dodgeball's cool though. To see these athletes like dodging balls and jumping around, it's cool. But everything else sucks. The game sucks, and I think which sport? This is a nice question. Which sport do you think has All-Star Weekend the most right?
The NHL.
Better than MLB?
I think the MLB, if they could do something more with their skill day.
Yeah, but
outside of the home run derby.
But I think
you're talking about the entire weekend itself,
yeah.
the NHL.
Yes.
Because the baseball game itself doesn't mean anything, and they haven't found a way to really make it mean something. They tried the World Series home field advantage, that didn't work. The thing is these NHL skill competitions, if they win it, they get a $25,000 bonus for winning it, and they get a bonus for winning the All-Star game. The Metro Division won, and they get like $1 million. They split $1 million between the team.
All right, that's cool.
So there's money incentive there.
I just think that the MLB has the home run derby, and that might be one of the most anticipated skills competitions in the whole world of sports.
It is, and I'm saying it's one compared to 6 different ones.
Yeah, but still, those 6 different NHL skill competitions is not as exciting.
You don't think
as...
the shootout challenge is exciting when they're bringing in the preps?
Think...
Alexander Ovechkin a couple years ago with the 2 sticks
cool.
and
it's cool.
The sunglasses.
I think it's cool. Come on, man, home run derby.
I don't know.
You're seeing fucking bombs go, and they're not like the MLB. The NBA, where the best, home run hitters are sitting out. Well, now some of them are, but like
the NBA is.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. You got the top dogs participating.
Yeah, for the most part.
Big home run hitters just cranking them out. The money goes to they do the pink ball.
The charity.
Charity, that's nice.
Century 21 ran that for a while. The winner got a house.
Yeah, so maybe the actual game isn't as good as the NHL game. I do like the 3-on-3, and the NBA All-Star game is a fucking joke.
There's no defense. The scores are what, 160 to 150. It's a joke. And then the best thing about the NBA All-Star Weekend is the dunk contest, and you don't have your stars participating in the dunk contest. It's not what it used to be.
No, hell
You know,
no.
some of the NBA greatest moments was in the dunk contest with Vince Carter and MJ and Spud Webb. You know, the last best dunk contest I sat down and watched was with Nate Robinson when he jumped over Spud Webb.
No.
When he jumped over Spud Webb.
Come on.
Come on.
No, it was cool, but
The last best one I watched.
Okay, fine.
You know, not the best one in history, obviously.
There was one a couple years ago that was pretty good.
But they're no-name guys. They're guys that are like
No,
the
you know what they are?
man.
They're dunkers. Mm-hmm. They're strictly dunkers.
LeBron has never done that. LeBron's a
No,
dunker.
I know.
You
Well,
know.
LeBron now,
Blake Griffin
now
barely
is,
has done
now is not a dunker. LeBron is
No, but I'm
everything.
saying
But
when he
back
came
then,
up.
I mean, he was still a pretty well-rounded player, not as good as he is now. But yeah, it would have been nice to see him participate. But
I think
with that, I mean, look, the NBA now is a shooting league. I mean, look what fucking Harden's doing.
yeah,
21 games in a row, scoring 30 points at least.
exactly. So, but the last thing I want to talk about before we get into our push and pull factors is the NHL trade deadline, because that's coming up relatively quickly. And there are a lot of teams now that are you're starting to see some stories about what team is going to trade, what team is going to sell, what team is going to buy. And I believe that there are a lot of different rumors coming around that are, especially for the Rangers, because the Rangers are a team that are on that cusp of competing and trading away some of their assets. I think that, you know, looking at the Rangers, you know, the two top names you're hearing right now are Hayes and Zuccarello. Hayes has been out, and the Rangers have been winning without Hayes. So it kind of shows that Hayes isn't that big of a difference maker, and that kind of hurts his value. But he's a young kid. He's just still on the younger side. If they can work out, if he signs an extension with the team he trades to, the Rangers could get a good pick and maybe a couple of good players for him. Zuccarello, you know, proven NHL playoff player. He's got the hands of a god. Some of the passes that he's made during his Ranger career are ungodly. And the other player that the Rangers is coming up is Chris Kreider. And if you had to sit me down and say, okay, you have to lose two of the three,
Everyone but keep Kreider.
I would keep Kreider.
Hell yeah.
Kreider, I think, is your next captain.
I hope so, man.
I think Kreider's a big-bodied center who's a bull in a china shop. He's got speed. He's a net front presence. He's
BDK.
big, and I think he's part of the solution in the rebuild. He's not part of the pieces you don't need. You know, he's been through the war with the teams that were constantly competing for a Stanley Cup, and he's a hard-nosed type of player. He plays with passion. He plays with so much intensity that I think he would make a very good captain. And I would vote for him to be a captain if they keep him. I think they should keep him. You know, I think as much as it pains me, because Zuccarello is one of my favorite Rangers. I think if you don't trade him, he's a free agent. So you either have to go to him and say, you know, give him the respect because he's been a career Ranger. Say, what do you want? Do you want to be part of this rebuild? Do you want to sign a deal around the same neighborhood of a contract that you signed, which was 4 years, $18 million, that's about to expire at the end of the year? Or do you want to be traded to a contender? And then maybe we can revisit each other in the offseason. Like kind of what the Yankees did with Chapman. I think they should do that. Hayes, trade him. You know, he's a big-bodied center, but he doesn't play big. He's more of a finesse guy. He's more of a pass-first type of guy. He has a good shot, but I think that you could get more value for him on the trade market than keeping him. I think that it's important if you can get, you know, like the Edmonton Oilers right now would be a good trade partner, I think, for the Rangers. They just fired their GM. They don't know what to do. They have a generational talent in Connor McDavid. They have Draisaitl. They have this team that's built to win now, right? And who knows if Edmonton can even pay McDavid when he's getting ready to get paid. So you only have a short window of time. So why not try to make some deals on the Edmonton side and have Hayes or Zuccarello be part of that? And if the Rangers can get one of their young top-tier level prospects for these guys, I think that that's a win. I think that that's something that I would be really happy with. I think it's something that can propel us forward. It was kind of comforting to see Lundqvist this weekend come out and say he wants to be a Ranger for life, how much he appreciates being a Ranger.
Yeah, he takes great pride in being a Ranger.
He's been there for 14 years, and he wants to finish his career here. He doesn't want to get traded.
Love it.
So, and he's played well. Recently he had a little bit of a downturn, but he had another All-Star year. I know teams are going to be asking for him, but I really don't see the Rangers dealing him because he has that no trade clause. He's going to be 37 in about a month. Looking at his numbers now, he's 15-12. He's got a 9.08 save percentage. His goals against average is high. It's 3. If you look at his career, he's a 2.39 save goals against with a 9.19 save percentage. His numbers are a little bit higher than what you would like, but you also got to remember he's in front of a young team, young defensive core. Watching the games and watching some of the goals that he's letting up, he's got no chance on. He's got no help in front of him. That's why his save percentage is so low. You can't just look at a goalie's save percentage and say, oh, well, he's not having a good year. And looking at his win and loss record, you got to look at the team in front of him. The year that he won the Vezina, I think he won the Vezina in either 2011, 2012, or 2012, 2013 when he won his Vezina trophy.
2012.
What?
2012.
2012 was the 2011-2012 season, the year that they lost to the Devils in the conference final.
Mm-hmm.
That team was nasty. That team.
He had 36 wins that year.
What was the full?
That's right, 39 wins.
39 wins. So he almost had 40 wins.
So his save percentage was .93, goals against 1.97.
Yeah.
Fucking
but
nasty.
If you look at the roster of that team,
shutouts were 8.
And if you look at the team in front of him, though, that team had a Ryan McDonough, Dan Girardi when he was good, Mark Stahl when he was good. These defensemen that cleared out the front of the net, gave him a free sight line to the puck, were responsible defensively, didn't turn the puck over in their own zone, didn't leave him out to dry. As much as the Vezina is a goalie's award for the best goalie, you got to look at the goalies that are winning it and the team that's in front of them. So, I really believe that if the Rangers can walk out of this trade deadline like they did last year with a lot of draft picks and a few prospects, it's a win. Yeah. And this team, if you look at the NHL standings and you look at where they sit, they're in it. I mean, they're 5 games out, point total, 2 points for a win. So they're 10 points out about. And in the Metropolitan Division right now, with 48 games played, they're 21-20, 21-20-7 with 49 points. And if the Islanders have they're leading the division with 63, the Capitals have 60, the Jackets have 59, the Pens have 58 points. So they're 9 points behind the Penguins. They're 10 points behind the Jackets for the 3rd spot in the division, which would guarantee them a playoff spot. They're right there. They're in that area where they're close enough to compete, but they're also far enough away to sell. So, as a Ranger fan who appreciated that team from 2012 through 2016, I would love to see them have a sustained window rather than a short window by trying to trade to make the playoffs. So I would rather see them sell at the deadline, gather aspects, let these young players develop even more, because their rookies are in the lineup every night. They're playing well. Hedl is a stud. Did you see the goal he scored the other night? You know, he's gonna develop to a better player. The kid in Russia they have is nasty. You know, he's putting up points.
You love the Russian players.
I love the Russian players. Well, the reason why the Russian players are so good, there's so many of them. You know, Tarasenko, Malkin, Panarin. You know, these Russian-based players, their scores. Kuznetsov.
You're forgetting a big...
Ovechkin. Okay. Ovechkin's in his own world. Ovechkin is... I love watching Ovechkin play. As much as he plays for the Washington Capitals, and I love beating him in the playoffs every year, he is so good. So good. And these Russian players are scorers. And, you know, we had a few in the past. Alexander Kovalev. You know, Alexei Kovalev was a Russian player that was a goal scorer that was really good for us. You know, Pavel Bure. You know, when he came to the Rangers, he was a shell of himself of what he was in Vancouver and in Florida. But these Russian players are proven players. The KHL over in Russia is one of the best professional leagues in the world, and these kids are playing there at 17, 18 years old. And this Russian kid that they drafted is going to be a very big contributor in the future. And even outside of Russia, the kid that they drafted, Kondre Miller, in Wisconsin, is lighting it up. And he's a big-bodied defenseman. He's in your pipeline. And so he's a freshman. He's young. That means, you know, when he comes here, he's going to add to that defensive core. So the Rangers' future, they're heading in the right direction. And I believe that if they stick to where their plan and they don't try to make the playoffs, where this year, where they sell some of those pieces like they've done in the past, and they sell their first-round pick like they did when they traded for Yandel and when they traded for St. Louis, I think that if they stay their course, they'll be back in the playoffs maybe next year for the 2019-2020 season. I can see them be more competitive. So it's a year-and-a-half rebuild compared to setting yourself back. So my message is stick with it and just keep moving forward. So we've covered a lot in this show, and I think it's time to talk about and enter the push and pull segment of our show. So I'm going to let you start.
Yeah.
What's your push factor? So what's your push factor for this week?
Whew, this is a good one. It's going to get you riled up.
Let me hear it.
Going to get you riled up. In case...
But it's your push factor, so you talk about it.
Yeah, no. For those of you that don't know, Puma hates how baseball is taking an analytics turn with the sabermetrics and all that shit. And this is right up your alley, buddy. My push factor is an article that I came across on ESPN.com written by Bradford Doolittle.
What name?
I have nothing against the guy.
Dr. Doolittle.
Except, you know, that he wrote this article. He was ranking Hall of Fame members into tiers. Solely based on a number that he calculated using an algorithm. All right? Now, I'm using the word algorithm, so you know that's some bullshit. So, going back to the article, when I read it, and obviously I don't remember every single person, every single tier. I wish I did, because now they made it a ESPN Insider Access only. So I can't even fucking read these tiers right now. But what I do remember is that he had 6 tiers. The first tier are the best players that he said, with these the highest of these numbers. Okay? Gehrig, Ruth, Mays, just to name a few. Okay. Mantle. Okay? Players like that. Based on those names I just told you, where do you think Joe DiMaggio would fall?
Probably, he's got to be in the top 10, top 15.
Players all time? I agree. So each tier wasn't equally separated. It was just based on these numbers, he had a cutoff. All right, the number that he calculated. he cut off.
But what was the number actually?
It was
referring
all.
to?
It was a number that he just based off of like career stats.
Okay.
All right, and not including playoff stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Joe DiMaggio was in tier 2. So right away I was like, "What the fuck?" Again, we're Yankees fans.
But that's not the point.
No. I know he's just straight up one of the best players of baseball ever, and he was in tier 2. But tier 1 was a very small group. It was super exclusive. Fine, whatever. What pissed me off was that our boy Mariano. This was before the actual voting and everything. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
He was like, Mariano is probably gonna fall into tier 4 out of 6. Meanwhile, he ends up becoming the only unanimous
Vote.
vote ever. Okay,
Well,
and
where was Trevor Hoffman? Because Trevor Hoffman was the
so
second best
again,
closer.
when the tiers started going higher, the lists of players got bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And it was during my lunch break, and I was scrolling through. I didn't read every single name. I hope he's higher than him. He's literally, statistically, the best closer ever. And then he had like a little narrative attached to each tier. He's like, tier 1, oh, these are the legendary players, legends of the game. Babe Ruth, right? Okay, fine. But Mariano's the best closer ever. He's the best of his position. He's a legend. Why can't he be in tier 1, tier 2 at the very least? So, once I saw that, I pushed that shit away. That's my push factor.
So my push factor has to also do with the Hall of Fame vote. And it has to do with the fact that, again, they give these players or these ex-players way too much say in certain things. And you have 2 players in this year's class going in with no logo. They're both totally different situations. Mike Mussina, who is a great pitcher, he deserves to be in, I think.
Yeah.
One of the better pitchers of his time.
The moose is loose.
The moose is loose. I remember when he came in as a Yankee, and in that championship series came in and held the Red Sox down, and he was able to hold the Red Sox for the Yankees to come back and win the game eventually. But he split his time between the Baltimore Orioles and the New York Yankees. Mm-hmm. So he spent time with 2 teams. Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly how long he spent 10 years.
So it was
10 years with Baltimore and 8 years with the Yankees.
Yep.
So he spent 2 more years in Baltimore. And he couldn't make a decision.
He also made 5 All-Star appearances in Baltimore and 0 with the Yankees.
But with the Yankees, he won his final season. He won 20 games.
Yeah.
And if the Hall of Fame makes a decision for what team you're gonna go in, he probably would go in as an Oriole, which is fine with me. Mm-hmm. I don't care. That's not the point. It's not me saying, oh, he should go in as a Yankee. That's not why I'm bringing this up. But with Mussina, he said he couldn't make a decision, so he's going in with no logo. He's representing both organizations. Okay. But on the flip side of that now, you've had issues with this in the past. Wade Boggs went in as a Tampa Bay Devil Ray. Okay. Why? Okay. He won his World Series with the Yankees, and he was a Red Sox before that. Mm-hmm. He should be going in as a Yankee or as a Red Sox. And I think Wade Boggs spent more time with the Red Sox than any other organization. So they botched it there as well. So, you can't. Oh
yeah, by a long shot.
You can't give these players that choice because, they can't even make the choice for themselves. There should be no reason why a player should go in with no logo. I think that the Writers Association should look at the player stats, and wherever his best years were as a player, that's where he should go. Or the longest tenured team that he was with.
Agree.
I don't think that the player should have a choice. The other player this year that's going in with no logo is Roy Halladay. Rest in peace. He passed away a couple of years ago in a plane accident. You know, he himself also spent his career with two teams. That is known. He was with Toronto for sure, and he was with Philadelphia. And he...
Yep, that's it.
His wife came out and said, you know, since it was her decision, because he's not with us anymore, is the choice, you know, she said, I can't make a choice. It's not in my heart. He's going in with no logo. There's another situation where the Writers Association should look at his numbers and say, okay, he's going to come in as a Blue Jay.
I think he should be a Blue Jay.
You know,
The Blue Jay legend.
you know, and then you have the organizations coming out. Oh, well, if he was alive, he would go in as a Philly or blah blah blah. You know, it's kind of disrespectful to come out and say that because you don't know what he would have chose because he's not here to make that decision. So if you take the emotion out of it and you do it basically on numbers and of where his best years were, it makes the decision easier. And these players are going in with the team they should be representing. You know, what if Mariano Rivera came out and said, I'm going to go in with no logo? Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And in a way, it's kind of a selfish thing, too, in my opinion. So I really think that it really should come down to the Hall of Fame making the decision for them. Because they write, not 100% sure, but I don't know if the player has any say on what is said on the plaque. So why are you giving him a right to pick the team? It just doesn't make sense. So that's my push factor. You know, I kind of don't have, you know, a good feeling with the fact that these players have such control in what team they pick. I think it should be based on numbers and it should be based on where their best years were.
I don't have a problem with them having a choice, but I have a problem with them having the choice of going in empty.
Yeah. I don't think they should go. I think they should pick a team.
Like Mussina should choose. I want to be represented as an Oriole or as a Yankee, but don't let them choose nothing. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Would you didn't play for a fucking team? You got some kid that's gonna go see his plaque one day. Oh, what team did this guy play for? Oh, I don't know. It doesn't say.
There's no logo on the cap, even though it probably will say how long he was with each team on the plaque. But you know, these kids. I'm
just saying.
You know, I know what you understand. I understand what you're saying, and you know, these people probably don't sit down and read every plaque that's in the Hall of Fame. But before we end the show, we still got to talk about our pull factors. So, what is your pull factor?
Man, my pull's a heavy one.
Okay.
It's something I've been following all week, actually. It's a soccer one, so we're going a little out of the realm.
Okay.
Deals with a player named Emiliano Salah, or Salah, because there's a guy, Mohamed Salah. He's Egyptian, but he spells it differently. This guy's Argentinian. So he was a forward for a French team, FC Nantes. I think that's how you say it. That's my best attempt at French. He was bought by a small English Premier League team called Cardiff City, who are based out of Wales. And this team does not have a lot of money. They don't buy big name players, and this guy was one of the leading scorers in the French league. Cardiff drops a club record $15 million to buy this guy. They are fighting out of the relegation zone, trying to stay up so they can keep getting more money. Guy posts on every social media platform his excitement to join his team, has a jersey in his hand. He says goodbye to his teammates, gets on the plane, and disappears. He disappeared on January 21st. They lost track of the plane that he was on. It disappeared in the English Channel. So Nantes, I think, is in West France, and he was going to fly up to Cardiff in Wales. So they cross over the ocean, and the plane, I guess, crashed. They lost track of it. They spent 2 days looking for him. They can't find him. They called off the search. And the soccer world was kind of upset because they felt that the most effort wasn't done to go find this guy. And current players like Messi, who's a countryman of Salah, donated their own money for a private search. $300,000 was raised to continue a search and resume searching for this guy. And the pilot is also missing. Nobody knows what happened. So I have a lot of mixed feelings with this. Is I was so intrigued because one, the timing of it is really strange. This club spent a lot of money on this guy, and now he disappears. It's kind of fishy. His girlfriend, who's a model, of course, soccer players date the best.
Mm-hmm.
She thinks it's a mob hit, like this. She called it the soccer mafia. It has something to do with this guy's disappearance. Me, I mean, I hope that this guy's okay. I hope he turns up, but I also wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of weird inner workings where maybe he purposely escaped and he's hiding somewhere. But at the same time, it also kind of brings me back to reality, how something as strange as this, man, can happen to anybody. That no one's untouchable to this kind of thing, right? I mean, this is a pro athlete who got into a rinky-dink plane, they're saying, and text messages from him came out that to his friends while he was on the plane. He said that he felt scared, he felt nervous with the flight, he felt like the plane was falling apart.
Well, why would a professional soccer player be on a flight like that?
Well, it was a private plane. When these transfers are happening all the time, they can't just let's book you the first flight out of this place with a bunch of other regular people. They flew him out of a little airport. But again, you as an athlete, you expect to have the best of the best, right? This team just spent $15 million on you. The least they can do is your agent can set up a fucking nice plane for you, right? Before I get off this, it also reminded me of how these athletes aren't untouchable. Last year, for my favorite Italian soccer team, Fiorentina, their captain, who was still playing with the team, he was a very big part of the team, youngish, still under 30, died out of nowhere. In his hotel room, just fucking died. And they still pay tribute to him today. So something like this, a story like this and that, kind of just reminds me that these guys are susceptible to everything else that we are too. It kind of just puts things into perspective. Yeah, they're athletes, but
that's a solemn pull. But it's interesting,
dude. I've been following all week, and it's crazy. There's still nothing. They haven't found shit on this.
It's kind of like that flight a couple of years ago that just disappeared.
Yeah, man. It's
just
weird.
It's crazy.
It's
Nowadays, you have all this technology,
right,
and you lose a flight.
It's weird.
But
how do you not find a fucking scrap of something?
Yeah, every plane has black boxes, so I'm surprised they couldn't even find the black boxes if the plane went down. Who knows? The plane is somewhere.
He might be chilling on a fucking.
He might be in Antarctica. Who knows? For all we know. But my pull factor is going back to the Hall of Fame. It's a little bit more upbeat, and I hope they find that guy. He deserves to be found. Is Mariano Rivera.
Yeah.
Mariano Rivera, first player ever to be unanimously voted into the Hall of Fame. And, were there other players that should have been 100% that didn't before him? Yes, of course.
Who do you think?
But, if you were talking about legends before, Mays, Aaron, Babe Ruth, those.
I don't know how they.
The Mount Rushmores of baseball should be 100%.
I don't know how they could not.
Griffey was close with 98.
Griffey was close.
He should have been 100 too. And, I don't understand how, like I said, it even goes back to the free agency. Everybody finds something wrong with somebody. Okay, and Mariano played for 19 seasons. He started in 95 and played to 2013. He played from 25 all the way to 43. He is the all-time leader in games finished with 952. He's got 652 saves, and he also holds the record for ERA plus, which is adjusted to the player's ballpark. It's a stupid sabermetric thing with 205. And then in the playoffs, his record in the playoffs was he had one loss. He was 8-1 in 16 years. He was dominant for his entire career, even at 43. I still think he can show up today and pitch.
Yeah, he's in great shape.
And I really think that he deserves to be a pitcher that was 100%. He's a legend. He will be talked about forever. He was the best closer in the game. You know, you really can't sit here and tell me, oh, well, he only pitched 1 inning a game, 2 innings a game. You know, but the thing is that that was his role. So you can't hurt him for a role, just like the DH.
Yeah.
You know, Edgar Martinez got in this year. He should have got in 4 or 5 years ago, but what stopped him was that he couldn't play defense, and that he shouldn't get voted in because he's a DH. That doesn't make sense. Why are you going to penalize a player for a role in the game? Just like Poppy should get in. David Ortiz should get in. He was one of the best DHs in the major leagues during his time and all time. You know, Trevor Hoffman got in. They weren't talking about all this crap about Hoffman. You know, so it's just like I said, you know, you really can't look at the numbers 100%, but if you just look at the numbers and look at his career totals and look at what he's done, you know, in 19 seasons, he had I can't even sit here.
Listen, when he came into the game, you knew it was fucking game over. You know, Yankees won.
And not for nothing, he did throw almost 1,300 innings in the major leagues. So he did throw innings. You know, his career ERA was you know, you can't even look at that. But as a closer, you know, the most earned runs he gave up in a season was his first season in '95, which was 41. You know, you can't sit here and tell me he didn't deserve. He threw 100 innings in '96. He threw over 100 innings. You know, he averaged 75 innings a year. Averaged 78 innings a year. Looking at Baseball Reference right here. You know, he was lights out in the playoffs outside of 2001 when they lost to Arizona when he gave up that hit to Luis Gonzalez. He was almost in the All-Star. He was in the All-Star game maybe because it was his last year and they made it known, but he was in the All-Star game his last year in the major leagues. You know, he was 4 years in a row from his age 38 season to 41. He was in the All-Star game. He was in the All-Star game 3 years in a row in the early 2000s. You know, the only season that he really didn't contribute was 2012, and that's when he tore his ACL during BP in Kansas City.
Never forget that.
So, you know, it's intriguing to hear these people say, well, he was a closer, so he shouldn't be a first ballot Hall of Famer or even 100%. You know, like with Jeter next year. Jeter's going to get inducted next year. Is he going to be 100%? He might be the next one. But, you know...
I would think he should be.
But there's going to be a writer that's going to find something wrong with his defense or with something. But my pull factor is the fact that Mariano, a guy who deserves it, he had a good career, was never in trouble, always did the right thing, 100%, first one to do it, and that's it.
Big church guy.
Big church guy. Built churches in Central America, you know, really big. You know, in our area, he owns car services. He's very... I ran into him in Dick's Sporting Goods.
He comes by Surf Club all the time.
You know, he's very personable, very friendly. I have his autograph. I met him in person too multiple times. And I think that, you know, he deserves it, and I'm happy for him. And, you know, I don't care what anybody says. I think that it's important that, you know, a guy with a decorated career as he had was able to get the 100% vote. So, with that being said, is there anything that is non-sports related that you want to get into really, really quickly before we wrap up here?
Well, I mean, could you call it non-sports? Because I saw this on ESPN Plus.
Well, I mean, it's not major sports.
Okay. So I came across the USA Pizza Team Championship. And when I saw the tab, I said, what the fuck is this? I got to watch it. And boy, I am glad I watched it.
Yeah. ESPN Plus, ESPN 8,
Yeah,
the Ocho.
I feel like I was on ESPN 8, the Ocho. Pizza Team Championship was, the first event was dough stretching, where these pizza guys are stretching the dough. You know, they're putting the flour on, they're rolling it out, they're fucking wiggling around. And the commentators are like actually analyzing, like, oh yeah, look how he's working the fingertips, look how he's working the edges. Oh wow, it's great technique. And then like they're tossing it up in the air, getting it stretched out. It was actually pretty crazy how big they were making these pizzas. But they have a certain amount of time to get it as big as possible, and then they measure it when they put it down, and the guy that stretched the biggest wins. And then they had the aerials, where these guys were flipping the dough, right? Flipping it, spinning it. But dude, this was actually pretty cool. They were like jumping in the air, putting it through their legs while it's fucking spinning. It's crazy. But I saw that on fucking ESPN Plus.
Oh God,
Right.
They're running out of things to cover at this point. And you have Pizza League stuff. I remember we had a Pizza League in the camp I had, but that was just a kickball tournament.
No, this is
But,
actual pizza making.
Something that's non-sports related for me that is coming up soon, and we're definitely going to be giving airtime to this, is softball's right around the corner.
Oh yeah.
And the Purple Cobras have a title to defend this year. And, you know, last year we were 15-2, and, you know, it's really getting time to get excited. And you know what? I think once we start the season, we should do game recaps sometimes at the end of the show.
We can do it.
Just to shout out some of the guys that are on the team. A lot of the guys that are on the team are from high school friends, they're town friends, and you know, it's a team that Cenz and I are a part of, and we're so happy that, you know, we get to be a part of it. And you know, it starts in a couple of months. You know, we have that meeting next week, and it's exciting. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We look forward to seeing you guys next week. Make sure to smash the subscribe button on YouTube and on Apple Podcast. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter at WTUTURIM. Okay, if you have any questions, you can send us an email at whodouyouthinkyouarempodcast@gmail.com. You know, if you want to ask us any questions, we're going to start a mailbag as we generate questions. We'll add that to the show. So be sure to look out for us. We look forward to hearing from you. And Cenz, you want to add one more thing before we sign off?
I just have one thing to ask you. Who do you think you are?
I am. Goodbye, everybody.